So it's time for Spirit Plus, and it's a very special Spirit Plus today as we're doing our live sound panel, and we're joined by some fantastic guests. Should we, I don't know how best to do this really, should we go from Chris and then we'll work across? So give us a bit of an introduction as to who you are and what you're working in the industry at the moment.
Hello, I'm Chris, as they said. I'm currently a freelance live sound engineer. I'm based in Manchester. Currently, my work is kind of divided between in-house work in most of the venues in Manchester and touring kind of throughout UK, Europe, and a bit of Australia and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's pretty much it from there. Like, I've just self-employed and do a lot of live sound work.
Excellent. We'll get to know a bit more about you as we go along. Moving down.
Hi, I'm Alisha. So I graduated from here last year on live audio and I forgot the name. Live audio engineering and music production.
That's the one. That's the one.
So I'm currently now at Solar Tech. I started there just after finishing uni. Just general warehouse assistant, currently in cables and hoping to work my way up in the next year or two. Been out on a few gigs with them. Done a few festivals when I was here. So, yeah, that's pretty much it up to now.
Excellent. Oh.
Hi, my name's Callum. I was here back from 2012 till 2015. I did the studio and live music production course, I think it was called back then. It was called SSR when I was here. That's how old I am. I'm a live sound engineer, mainly work in live touring, have done for the last 6 or 7 years now, full time. I dabble in a bit of broadcast audio as well. And yeah, I'm based in North Wales, have been since the start of my career. And yeah, that's me.
Very good. And Josh?
Hi, I'm Josh. I graduated from here in 2020. I am a live engineer, but I'm also the head sound engineer at Hidden Nightclub in Manchester, or technical manager, look after all lights and sound, and the logistics of what we've got on the weekends and tech and everything like that. And also freelance as well at the same time, and to do other jobs and work in different clubs and venues around the city and festivals and stuff when it comes to the summer.
Excellent. And as you may have all guessed, the connecting factor between everybody here, you all graduated. So it was 2020. Right, yeah. Okay, great. Well, yeah. What a year. What a year. What a year to do. Chris, when did you graduate?
2018.
2018. Yeah. So you got before.
Just before.
But just before
like,
the thing.
Doubled.
The beginnings. Yeah. Alisha, when did you graduate? 2023. It's last year, and then
2015 for me. 2015.
We'll go through, I suppose, a little bit about your journey getting to Spirit, what it was like at Spirit, and then after Spirit. But I suppose, an open question, Chris, we'll start off with you. But in terms of live music and what you're working in, what's an average day? What's an average day for you, Chris?
It depends where I'm at. So if I'm kind of on the say the in-house side of, because I work in venues such as like Band on the Wall and the Academy and things like that. Typically, when you get in, you look at the tech specs that you've got for the day, or you kind of prep for whoever's going to be touring through. Mainly, my job as an in-house sound engineer is to take care of whatever the touring party need, whatever their tech spec or rider requires. That's my job to take care of it and look after the whole venue. In there, so it's mainly just as an in-house is assisting whatever the touring artist needs, and then on the flip side, when I tour, it's the complete opposite. So whenever, like if I need something from the in-house people, I'll ask them whatever. It's hard to just like describe off the top of my head.
There's no one typical
yeah, there's
day,
no one thing, because every day is completely different, considering it's like when we're in the UK, one of the bands are touring, we tour arenas, but then when we go to Europe, we tour 500 cap venues, so it's a massive jump in between, and it's just about adapting to each situation that you're in and trying to really create the best gig that you possibly can in the like situation that you're in at that time.
The solo tech, Alisha, what's an average day then down there?
So 9 times out of 10, when you're trying to finish a case, you'll spend half your time looking for that one cable to finish it, which is really annoying. But so we get master lists, and so we're in cables, go to the master list, write your name on it, so 2 people aren't prepping the same thing. Grab it all, put it in, scan it, out the door it goes. Pat testing, and that's pretty much it at the moment, because I've only been in cables. But say if there's someone's not come in, or there's a freelancer in that needs a lift, and they're like, oh, can you just help me tip this desk, or can you give me a hand in? It's like, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much an average day, but definitely looking for that one cable.
Right, yeah.
Is
it's
the
out there
highlight.
somewhere. It's
Just
hidden.
that
It's
one
hidden.
thing, yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't go away. It's like the most important cable always as well.
That elusive cable is always out there. Callum, what's an average day for you, Callum?
So say if I was on a bus tour day, so wake up. I always start with what time I've gone to sleep, so it doesn't make me sound like I'm really lazy. So gone to sleep about 2 or 3 a.m. Would wake up on the bus. Usually the bus is parked about 10 a.m. First thing I do is Google where the best coffee is, because that's the most important thing about touring.
Five-star review.
Find a coffee, and then load-in usually starts about 11 a.m., between 11 and 12 on, say, an academy tour. A lot earlier if you're on an arena. Stuff starts getting taken out of the truck. I tend to, so I'm mainly doing front of house at the moment. I go meet the in-house crew, introduce myself, make a plan for the day, kind of start to look up in the air, see what PA I've got. I've obviously looked in advance what PA I'm dealing with that day. Try and just assess from looking at it. Obviously, you got to wait until you can hear it.
Yeah.
And then, start pushing boxes. Start pushing boxes in, kind of liaise with the crew boss, start getting things in. The production manager's mainly handling all this. And then start building front of house, start plugging things in, make my way to stage, start miking up things, work towards a sound check, hear the PA first, tune the PA, do a sound check around 3-4 p.m. And then, a little bit of downtime, get a bite to eat, go back to the tour bus, go back to your hotel if you got a hotel that day. Just a bit of life stuff. And then work towards the show, I guess. Change over if you're headlining is usually about 8 p.m., 8:30. Do the show, lasts an hour or so, and then take it all down, put it back on the truck, and then go back to the tour bus, have a cup of tea, try and get down from that kind of big high that you've just had from the show, and try and think about, not put too much thought into the next day, just try and chill out, not talk about work stuff, talk about everyone's, I just did a tour with the Americans and we put In-Betweeners on every night. And that was a bit of a funny thing to watch, just watching them watch it. Just chill out, and then either you got a day off the next day or you do the whole thing again.
Go to sleep, find another coffee.
For me, kind of opposite to what Chris says, I try and make things be different, because it can be really repetitive, especially when you do arenas and things. Like in America, the bus is parked under the venue. You don't see outside. You can easily just go 5 days without going outside. Sometimes you want to do that in some of these states in America in January, or certain parts of America. You don't want to be going outside. But it can be quite repetitive in my world anyway. And
that'll lead, I guess, topics that we'll talk about a little bit later. Actually, the idea of maintaining a good point of view as you're going along. Josh.
A regular day working in a nightclub. It's never the same. So in the week, basically, I We'll come in, I'll test the PA and all of the rooms. We've got 3 rooms in Hidden and a courtyard as well. So I'll go through, test everything after the weekend, make sure we've got no blown drivers, etc. Go through all the equipment, just check all the equipment's working fine, and then I'll do the sort of logistics for the week that we've got ahead. So I'll look at what the shows we've got on, try and get all the tech riders in, which is harder than it seems from promoters. Some people just still seem to not realise that it's an important thing that you need to do when you're running an event, to give your tech riders over early. But anyway, try and predict what's going to happen. Sometimes we'll have 3-room shows on at the weekend, 1,200 people in the venue. We could have 1-room show on, or whatever. So yeah, go through that. And then afterwards I'll be doing repairs, small repairs on vinyls, Technics, CDJs, things like that as well, or anything bigger that needs to happen as well. Whether it's amplifiers or the actual PAs themselves. And then, meetings, things like that. Looking forward to the future with the other people that work in the venue, as we all try and work together and try to get together at least once a week and just have a talk, because communication is key, which is still not everybody's strong point, especially when you work in the tech world. But communication is key. And then when we come towards the weekends and it's showtime, I'll be in the venue a couple of hours before the show. I'll have obviously looked at the tech and already sort of had a plan. We'll have to go through and look at all the changeovers and stuff that we have between different artists and DJs and things like that. And then obviously I have other sound engineers that work with me. And I'll have explained it to them before. We'll have a brief before the show so everybody sort of knows what they're doing. Everyone will have different rooms and people assigned to each rooms, but we might need to have someone giving a handover when it's a specific changeover and things like that. You have different multiple mixers and things going on at the same time when it's DJs and all that sort of stuff, so everybody sort of needs to know exactly what's going to happen just to make the night run smoothly, because the last thing that you want is to be falling over each other, trying to tangle cables, and someone doing a job that someone's already done. Especially when you've got 1,200 sweaty people inside of a venue and you're trying to get through it all. So, and then it's showtime, basically. When it's on, you should already know what's going on by this point. Do you know what I mean? And hopefully it makes the show run smoothly. Now, it can still be stressful, but, as long as you sort of have an idea, then you kind of get through it as you can from there on.
I think hearing from everybody there, it seems like this versatility to be able to adapt to situations, just whether it was planned or almost expect the unexpected, or kind of always have that kind of point of view going. Let's go back in time a little bit, and I guess everyone's journey up to the point of coming to Spirit Studios. Chris, school, college, was it shows all the time? Were you involved, in end of year performances? Were you jumping on the desk?
No, I was more playing on stage when I was in school. I was always when I was in secondary school, I was always very interested in multimedia, and I was very interested in music, and I was always doing something to do with tech. And I knew I wanted to work in audio, but I didn't know what I wanted to do in audio. So when I could play guitar very well, but I had no idea how to use a desk or even what a microphone was really when I was in secondary school. So when I left, I actually came here, and I did, back in the day, they did a college course here, and it was a BTEC. So I did 2 years of a BTEC here. And then when I finished that BTEC, I did 3 years of uni here. So I spent a long time here, which was, to be fair, I thought it was super, super beneficial, just because just being surrounded by everything constantly for that amount of time, was super, super beneficial, just to gather as much information as I could. But then when I did eventually come here, like I said, I didn't set out to be a live sound engineer. I didn't have a plan in my head of going, right, I'm going to do this, become a live sound engineer. I kind of just fell into it as I went. Like I said, I wanted to work in audio. So when I kind of got to the second year of the studio and live sound course, I ended up doing a work placement module, and I ended up working in a venue called Sound Control. If anyone remembers Sound Control, it's unfortunately dead now. It's died, unfortunately, but I learned so much in there. And from shadowing there, I just got a lot of job opportunities and just kind of worked my way up the ladder pretty fast. Started working in audio companies, PA companies, and then started just working freelance in all different venues as well, and then just fell into that live sound engineer realm of kind of whatever, and that's where I kind of became a live sound engineer from.
So it's kind of finding your path as you were kind of like traveling along it almost.
Yeah, I was kind of like I always had a very open mind going into my time here. I never wanted to just like, I was never, I'm just going to do studio stuff, or I'm just going to be a live sound engineer. That was very boring to me. I really wanted to try and experiment with everything to see where I would end up, and ended up as a live sound engineer, which I really, really enjoy. And yeah, the time that I had here was super beneficial to like the knowledge and the path I've kind of created now.
Alisha, what was your pathway like? Was school, was it putting on shows all the time? Was it playing guitar? What was it? What got you into music?
So I actually, oh dear, I actually wanted to be a DJ, and that quickly changed because I could just about order a pizza. Never mind standing in front of so many people and be like, I'm going to play this song today. So I did a BTEC course in year 11, music tech, and then went to college, did level 2 creative music, and then went on to level 3. That was 2 years. And then, so that was like, there was studio, performing, which I hated, composing, and like electronics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then at the end of college, I was like, I don't really need to go to uni. I don't think I want to go. And then my teacher was like, are you sure? So I was like, yeah, I'm just going to work in B&M forever. Yeah. So he was like, no, we're not going to do that. So then he was like, why don't you look at Spirit? And then we came here on an open day, and we went in the one up in the loft.
Yes, Spirit.
And I was like, wow, like that's like pretty cool. So I applied, and then COVID hit. And all I can remember from that year is just being online and having this massive jar of sweets next to me, and just like, I'm so bored, I'm just going to have these for my tea, like. And then luckily it died down, then we could come back, and then here I am now, and I'm just glad.
So but the path into live sound itself, it wasn't similar to Chris, I suppose. Was it again, you kind of found your path as you were travelling along it, rather than going, I want to work in live sound?
I was constantly changing my mind. So I just went from one extreme to the other. So when I got to college, I was like, I think I want to work in studios. And then when I got into level 3 second year, because of the performing, I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to waste my time for another year. So my tutor was like, well, why don't you do this, which is where you will basically portray yourself as a live sound engineer. Yeah. And when we have the performing lesson, you can engineer for the students. So I was like, yeah, I'll do that. So that was put into place for me, because I didn't want to go down the route everyone else wanted to go down. And I always messed up anyway, so...
But you found that like it fit what you wanted to do.
Yeah, definitely. I always wanted to be behind the scenes. I just didn't realise it until...
Then you come to places like here and you go, right, okay, this can happen, this can be part of it. Callum, what was it, you mentioned North Wales just in your introduction. What was the music scene like in North Wales, and were you playing in bands? How did you get into music and eventually live sound? What was your journey?
So I'm like the first in my family to do anything creative. Like, they're all like traditional jobs, lawyers, nurses, construction, things like that. And yeah, since I can remember, I've always wanted to either do something in music, and then from about the age of 15, 16, just knew I wanted to be a sound engineer, not really knowing what that meant, and not really knowing there was a difference between someone that does studio stuff and someone that does live stuff. I used to play in brass bands when I was younger. Did that like up until the age of 15, pretty much. But that brass band rehearsal room had a pretty good studio in it, and I was the guy that ran the band was a close family friend. Yeah, and he kind of took me under his wing and was like, because he didn't really know how to run a studio, and nor did I. So we kind of just did it together, and we produced maybe over 10 albums together, traditional choir stuff, brass band, pop stuff, just over the years kind of thing. And that was for me, that was like before I was 19, like I'd done that. And I was like, this obviously I found a college course locally, a college called Coleg Menai. Did a music tech course there for 2 years. Got the equivalent of the A-level kind of equivalent points, and then I was looking into courses, and I don't even think I had another choice. I came here on an open day, and I was just like, this is the place for me. I kind of knew Manchester was as far as I wanted to go away from North Wales, because I knew I would still have some connections back there that I needed to, because I kind of started so early in the working world that I knew I needed to stay somewhere in the Northwest. And yeah, I came here. I remember the open day and just was wowed, mainly coming into this room, just going, oh, cool, a venue. Like, I don't even need to go work in a venue. There's one in my uni, big console. There's a big Midas here at the time. Not sure if it's still here. And yeah, just fell in love with sound engineering from such a young age, and produced all my friends' bands and all that kind of stuff. Didn't know what I was doing. I used to think Pro Tools was what plugins were. I didn't know the difference. And you learn everything. That was kind of but while I was here, I started. Still kind of had so much work back in North Wales that I actually spent my third year of uni living in North Wales, and used to just commute here because my degree had to take a bit of a back foot, because I was kind of like, all the work just kind of came to me, and I was just like. So you built up such a kind of a network in North Wales. It was, you had to keep moving back and forth just to keep maintaining those between doing studio stuff, TV stuff, and starting to work for a live audio company over there. It was a no-brainer that I didn't need to be in Manchester anymore. Like, as in living here. I still need to be here.
Commuting. Just to kind of make sure everyone.
But that's me.
Josh.
So mine's pretty much the complete opposite to yours. My family were involved with music since I can remember, since I was born. My dad actually had his own recording studio in Coventry, where I'm from, and he used to do access to training courses and stuff for kids who have left school and want to get into the music industry and stuff. And I just wanted to do the complete opposite, because it's like what my parents did at first when I was younger, and it was just around me all the time. So I was doing sport and things like that. But I always liked music anyway, and then I started DJing, did the same stuff, and then I went to do my A-levels and was doing like physics and stuff like that, and I just hated it. I hated every minute of it, and I just was like, this is not for me. They like in the lessons and everything like that, I was just sat there thinking to myself, this is not what I want to do. So I ended up leaving my A-levels, and then my parents were actually really good to me, and they said, you just need to decide what you want to do now and which direction you want to go. They said we don't care what you do. They said if you turn around and you just tell us you really want to be a bin man, fine, that's great, but just make sure it's what you want to do. So I stopped and I thought, and I was like, actually, I do want to do music. I didn't know what I wanted to do at this point, but I just knew I wanted to do something in music. So I went to college, did like a music tech course. I could have actually done a course at my dad's studio, but the college made him redundant and moved all of the facilities into the actual college themselves, and I was a bit too young to have done it with him, which was a shame. But yeah, so then went to college, and then they were like, okay, well, obviously you move on to go to uni after that, and I went to. They suggested to go to BIM for me, so I went to BIM for a year when I moved to Manchester. I knew I wanted to come to Manchester. I had friends here. As soon as I got here, I was like, I love this city. I love the energy and stuff like that. It was better, like it was small enough to have a sort of sense of community, but big enough that there was enough going on, and it was a lot bigger than what was happening in Coventry and stuff like that. And it was further enough away from home for me than Birmingham, which I wanted to get away. So yeah. But yeah, I went to BIM for a year, and and again wasn't really for me. What I was learning at the time, it wasn't really right for me as well. So I left there, did my first year there, finished it, and then left, and then just was like, right, well, I was DJing a lot at the time actually, and I was like, well, this sort of seems all right, and so I was like working in bars and stuff in between, and like trying to work in events and things like that, and just getting to understand the industry here. And then after a while, I realised I was like, I don't really just want to be a DJ. I have friends who were touring and stuff like that. It seemed quite lonely, to be honest. And I was like, right, I want to do something where I can still earn money and be involved in the music industry and enjoy. So kind of tied with what I was doing before when I was good at physics and things like that, was like, right, live sound seems to be what I'm into. I was like, oh, I can plug in a pair of decks. I'm sure I could do live sound. Like, that's sweet. And then I came here, started the course, walked in this room, realised it's completely different to just plugging in a pair of CDJs, dealing with power and amps and things like that.
Yeah.
And then started working here and was just trying to gain experience whilst I was working here, studying here. I was trying to gain experience working at the same time as much as I could, because I was DJing and was in the electronic world. Realised that I needed to gain more experience in the live world, basically, and to do with bands and everything like that. So just tried to volunteer and help where I could, just to build my knowledge, really. And then started interning with a company called Neuron. In my second year, and that taught me loads as well at the same time. That was very much hands-on. Did what you're doing at the moment in the warehouse and stuff. That was really, really beneficial for me, because it just meant, like, I got taught to learn and work under pressure, which is a massive thing, and this is what you've got to do for the rest of your lives if you go into this, is you're going to be working under pressure, and coming up with a solution to whatever it is that's going wrong under pressure is key, I think. And learning how to just be calm and deal with the situations. Do you know what I mean? Because if you stress, then it's not going to make it any easier. The problem is still there anyway. So that really helped me being live, hands-on with them, and they also took me on to festivals and things like that, and just taught me things I didn't know. And then after that, after I finished here, that's what I carried on doing, and that sort of got me into the world of live sound, and that's how I ended up doing live instead of doing studio and stuff. So yeah,
it kind of leads into the next topic, which was about work experience and kind of, like, if you will, the big break idea. So was it that combination? You couldn't necessarily. It might be that you had a moment where you go, this is going to change things now.
Yeah.
Was there a moment like that, or was it kind of more gradual?
No, it was definitely gradual, because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was still DJing and things like that. I was like, do I want to go into that world? And I was like, it kind of lent. I think doing the course here, because you're doing studio and live, and it was like I get to have a feeler of all the different points of it. I started to lean in that direction, and then I think when I started interning and doing it hands-on, and started working in the events, and I kind of loved the buzz of doing a live show and the pressure and things happening and things going wrong at the same time. But as long as you can, and seeing that there is always a solution to it at the end of it, and then coming away from a show, I think it was more the first time that I worked at a really big show, and I came away from it and was like, "Wow, did that just happen?" sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, "Okay, this is it for me." I got home and I was absolutely buzzing. Do you know what I mean? And it was that, like you said, like when you finish a show, that sort of natural sort of high that you have from the show, and then coming back afterwards and sitting back and taking it all in. For me, that was when I was like, "Okay, yeah, this is it. I love it." Do you know what I mean? And I think you have to sort of realise that you do love it as well. Do you know what I mean? To do these long hours and everything as well. Because sometimes it's not all fun and games. Do you know what I mean? And there's a lot of graft that goes into it too.
Yes, indeed. Chris, you mentioned before the idea of work experience, and Josh was telling us there about that. Not necessarily, we kind of use the term like a big break. It's not necessarily that clear cut in terms of when it's happening. But you might turn back after and have that moment going, that was brilliant. That's what I want to do. That's that moment. Was it part of the course with doing your work experience modules, or was it beyond that?
It was definitely beyond that. Like, I felt like the course taught me a lot, but it only took me so far. Like, it gave me the knowledge that I needed to be in the situations I was in. But as Josh said, it's like that pressure and stuff that you learn when you're on a job is you can't learn that in uni. No. It's really, really important to go out there and actually work, because when you're doing like a 12, 14-hour day, you've only eaten one meal, and you've got to get like, I don't know, maybe you say like, you're on a festival stage or you're on main stage or something, and you've got to roll 12 bands on and off during the day. It's tough, but those are the lessons that are most important where you learn. But in terms of like a big break for me, it was very gradual, because I started when I started shadowing. I started working for a PA company called DBN Ardial. And they took me on to festivals and stuff like that, and kind of a similar experience to you, probably at Neuron and things. And so that gave me a lot of experience for like the touring world that I'm in now. And from there, like I just started networking, and you start speaking to people, and they got me jobs in venues in the city here, and then I started working at a venue called Night and Day. If anyone knows Night and Day, it's kind of in a bit of a turmoil at the moment, which is a bit upsetting because the council, but that's another story.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I started working there for years, being their head sound engineer, and did about 4 years there, and learned a lot as well, being their head tech, just overcoming anything that would come your way. And a venue like that's really interesting because one day you would have like a little indie band from Manchester who no one knows, and then the next day you'll have like an arena band from America who's like a massive artist over there, and then they come to England, no one knows who they are.
Yeah.
So they're playing a 250 cap venue, and you've got to adapt to that situation, create the same experience for that artist that they would have over there in a massive place that they would have in a small show. And then from just doing multiple shows for years there, just made more connections from networking, and got on my first few tours, just like sitting in dirty vans with very sweaty musicians, driving the length of like, I've done stupid drives, like driving bands from like Glasgow to Brighton in a day, just like stupid stuff like that, just to play to like 200 people. But it's so important to learn that stuff, because when you are finally on an arena tour, like you say, when you sat on your bus and like you're looking for like the nicest coffee shop around, but when you've just got to go to the same services, like on the way up and down, stuff like that, it's tough, man. It hurts your head. When I finally first started touring, my main goal was to just talk to as many people as I can, get to know as many people as I can, find the opportunities where I could. And I remember I depped for one engineer for the band I work now like 3 years ago. And I was like, I got drunk with them. I got very drunk with them. And I started pleading to them, like, I'm your guy. Like, I will make this the best show you will ever have in your life. And it worked, because, like, 3 years later, I'm still with them.
What's the moral of the story? I'm trying to think of what that might
networking.
be.
Doesn't matter.
That's it. Yeah, that's
doesn't matter anything else. It's networking.
Yeah.
So just really getting yourself out there. I guess, like, the big break moment, would be that moment.
Yeah.
If you want to say that. But I don't think it was a big break because of how long I worked prior to that to get all my knowledge and all my experience to get where I was.
Yes.
I don't think it was a big break moment. It was me seeing an opportunity and seizing it, rather than going, oh, this is going to make me, like, no, it's not like that. It's seeing an opportunity, going, oh, this is the next step up. And then I'll probably do that. And I'm just continuing to do that with other bands that I work with to try and get in different areas and move up constantly. And that's how it works. Like, when I first started with this band, we were doing like 500 caps in the city, in the UK. And now we're doing arena tours in the UK, like headlining as well. Then we're going to like Australia, doing like Southeast Asian tours, EU tours, and it's changed a lot differently from doing like sweaty bus van drives.
I would say you're not driving the van, are you?
Not
Across
anymore.
Europe,
Not anymore.
No,
I've stopped doing that now. I just mix now. Just put my mixing hat on.
Alicia, same sort of question, I suppose, but was it the work experience modules here? Did they get you into solo tech, or was it some afterwards, or what was your kind of big break into getting to where you are at the minute?
So I wouldn't say I've had my big break yet, but Paul here. So I went to a Production Futures event.
Yes.
Before I graduated with my friend, and it was chaos. But it's mainly school kids going up asking for sweets. It's like, mate, just move out of the way. I've got a career to get here. Like, so Solo Tech was there, and me and my friend were just like, you go first. No, you go first. So we just started smiling at the girl that was there. We're just like, hiya. Started talking to her. Got the leaflet with the barcode on it. She was just like, just scan that, see what comes up, and take it from there. So I applied for the desk prep technician role, not realising how much actually went into that. And they offered me an interview, and that's the week before Paul emailed me saying, I don't suppose you fancy giving Solo Tech an extra pair of hands next week. I was like, funnily enough, I'm there that week too for an interview. She was like, well, go do it. It'll go in your favour. And it just didn't feel yeah, it was daunting because there was just this massive digico desk in front of me, and I was just like, what is going on? But it just felt homely and natural. And then I had my interview, and it was just like, so here's the deal, you'll come in as an assistant and then work your way up. I was like, yeah, I'm happy with that. But I think I won't get my big break until I realise what I actually want to do, because I've been advised to not make a decision yet. So I'm using these gigs that I'm going out on as like a learning curve. So like I'll fly a bit of PA and then I'll go and work in RF or just like general stage check stuff.
Yeah.
I did a gig a few weeks ago where I was just sat in RF just like learning, and it was Manchester Big Night of Musicals. So there were all these musical theatre people just all in one room that wanted miking up, and did these little flimsy microphones that if you just like breathe, they'll break. And it's like, I can't, no, I'll fly the PA, please, thank you. So yeah, it's I don't think, I'm not quite there yet, but yeah, I'd say here is the reason why.
And there'll be people that you work with at Solotech. Did they kind of say, is that their advice? Just like, take your time, don't rush into it?
Freelancers, definitely.
Yeah.
Because one of them, because I was like, I want to go into systems, and he was the system tech for this Manchester Musicals, and he was like, the enthusiasm's great and stuff like that. He said, but don't make your mind up, because 20 years down the line you might be like, I wish I'd have done that. I wish I'd have got a taste of this. So just taking it easy for now and just seeing where it takes me.
Taking in everything as you're going along.
Yeah.
Callum, was there a big break moment? Was there that event or
Definitely when it comes to, so when I refer to going back to North Wales to work while I was here, I kind of then spent from say 2014 to 2017 working in North Wales, doing events and doing all kinds of, auctions, food festivals, rock shows, gigs in castles, all the cowsheds, lots of Welsh themed gigs. I was just very hungry to get into touring, and I always wanted to get into touring, but I had no idea how does at the time, I felt like a kid, I was in my young 20s, like early 20s, how do I get into touring when I'm not in a city? There's no venue where I live, like there's no touring bands coming through. I can't be like, do you want me to mix your next show? Because that's not happening. I had the Welsh scene, obviously, but that has a ceiling. Like it only goes so big, and I kind of reached that, and I was the guy in the scene, but I wanted more. And obviously, from the get-go, I've always wanted to be a front of house engineer, but I knew those offers weren't going to come in as quickly as I wanted them to. So an offer to drum tech came in, and I'm a drummer, so I thought, I know I'd set up some drums and make them sound good. Yeah. Is that what drum teching is? And obviously it's a lot more than that. But I got the opportunity, and that was with a band called the Lightning Seeds. Yeah. Famous for their singing about English football.
Yes.
So it was a bit of a, I ummed and ahed taking that gig. But that year we toured, it was like the Euros or something. And it was like three lions, like every gig. And I was just like, this is, I've got my Welsh shirt on underneath. But yeah, I got that. And then obviously I look back on it now and I think, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Because that pigeonholes you. Right. In touring is so easy to be, because it's such a small industry. And there's this weird thing where people are like, you can't do that and that. There's no way. You can't be good at two things or three, like my career. So yeah, I then became the drum tech for Cast. Right. So I kind of broke into the small Merseyside kind of touring industry.
They're Liverpool band,
Liverpool bands. Yeah. And then I worked... So I worked for them for like a good 2 years doing festivals and things, and always made it clear to everyone I was working with that you should let me mix. You should let me mix. Honestly, you should let me mix, because I was honestly thought I could definitely do a better job than the guys they had, or guys or girls they had. But like I said, the pigeonholing thing, people just don't. They think, oh, he's a drum tech. There's no way he could operate a Digico or anything like that. You know, there's no way he would know how to make a kick sound good for a PA, all that kind of stuff. So I had this transitional period, and I'm in another kind of transitional period now with my career, because I've pigeonholed myself even more. So I went from being a drum tech to then dabbling in, still doing front of house bits, but not like some serious touring, which I wanted. I was going back to North Wales, doing things there, doing the odd gig, covering for people, depping for people, which was really helpful. Doing lots of depping, front of house stuff, which meant I could at least get stuff on my CV that was good names, front of house stuff. So I did lots of Britain's Got Talent people and things like that, because I had friends that were working on those. Scala or one Calabro, so like more like musical theatre or less rock and roll stuff. Yeah. And then I was in 2019. I did Zara Larsson, where I was a drum tech on that, that was definitely my big break moment. Even though I didn't really want to be a drum tech, but I got the call, and first of all I was like, yeah, Zara's great. Like, yeah, I'd love to work for her. And then they were like, okay, she's supporting Ed Sheeran for all summer. So that was my summer of 2019, was just following Ed Sheeran around Europe, doing 3 nights in the same stadium. It was the best catering I've had to date, like, or just my first time on a bus, like everything like that.
Good
I was
coffee,
just,
no doubt.
Yeah. That catering I put on like 2 stone. That's all. But yeah, like that was a proper pinch me moment, and especially when like the news broke that it was like the world's most successful tour ever at the time and stuff like that. I was just like, wow, I'm like...
So this was like what, Wembley Stadium? Was it those kind of...
Yeah, like just every major football stadium around Europe. And although I was, I was completely content with looking after a drum kit. Like it was fine, but I was just like, every time I heard that PA go in the stadium, I was like, oh, I wish that was me. But I knew it would come. Like I needed to really change all of my work to full-time touring for that to happen. Because I would still do the odd bit of sound in Wales or the odd depping again for like another year. And then just as I'm like coming to the end of that Ed Sheeran tour, I'm like, cool, right, no more drum tech. Done with that. I'm going to concentrate on just mixing. And then I did, someone asked me to do playback for a new artist. And I was like, yeah, like I knew coming here, I was good on Ableton, good on Pro Tools, everything like that. I was like, how hard can it be? It's just press and play, right? Which obviously is not. So I did like 3 shows with this new artist called JC Stewart. And it just turns out that his musical director was Dua Lipa's musical director. Right. And he said, what are you doing next week? We need someone. Dua's about to start a new campaign. What are you doing? And then almost 5 years of my life happened after that. And I worked for Dua for 5 years. And
it was just that interaction of just saying, what are you doing next week?
Doing playback for Dua, and I hadn't really done playback before. And we did, arena touring for like 18 months, big outdoor headline festivals, some of the biggest gigs I've done to date. And yeah, like that was just then I've obviously been pigeonholed quite recently as a an arena level playback tech, which was fine. But then I really I did like a few, like while Dua was on a break, I just did some front of house stuff again. And I was like, oh, I need to get back to this. And yeah, so for like the last 18 months, almost 2 years now, I've just been focusing on mixing again. And I had to quit Dua, which was like a major, a major decision for me to make. Because, we can talk about this in the other section of what you want to talk about, but I was on like a retainer with Dua, like things that just don't happen in freelance work very often.
So it's like pinch yourself kind of like.
Yeah, like I was like, wow, like this is a big gig, and I've been on this for years now, but I was going to work going, this is not what I want to do. By the end of it,
does that involve? So if you get to working with Dua Lipa and you want to move to do front of house, can you go?
So I've gone from arena stadiums to kind of academy level stuff, which is totally fine. Like the money's not that much different.
No.
If you think of it like that. And yeah, I luckily friends I had made on previous stuff knew that I was a good front of house and kind of put me forward for this Canadian pop star called Lauren Spencer Smith, who I spent most of last year with, and yeah, I was doing front of house all of that, and now I'm about to start a new British singer called Olivia Dean. I'm going to be out with her most of this year, so
lots of things planned and lined up.
Yeah,
for that,
but again, it's, other things might happen, things might change, but yeah.
Not part of the process. Josh, as well, the big break moment is that sort of.
To be fair, earlier this year, Hidden won number one club in the UK. Now, after the year that I've been the head sound engineer there, so that was kind of not like a big break, but it was kind of like a recognition of all the work that I'd put in.
Do you have the award at home? Do you put
it's in the office. Well, they won Best Small Club in 2015, so for them to win that and then go to Best Club was it was recognition for all the work that I had done. It wasn't necessarily a big break, but it was like, okay, now I've kind of got somewhere. I'm in a career. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It never really felt like a career because I always felt like I'm still learning now. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like I'm constantly learning. So I never really thought to myself like, oh, I'm here yet. Do you know what I mean? And I still want to go further. So I'm not at the limit. So yeah, I think for anything, it's not necessarily the big break, but that was like, okay, I'm kind of doing something now. Do you know what I mean? And I've been doing something.
Is this idea of, I guess, this leading to what Callum's saying, the idea of pigeonholing? Is this like an important part of in the career? Is it a case of, is that I can work it in a good way of like I'm a specialist and I can do this, or can it be like actually I want to move out of what I'm doing currently? And
I feel like it's a point where it's like, okay, I've done what I want to do here, and now I want to move on to the next step, the next challenge, and keep pushing myself really, because it's like I've been working there for a while. Like we said, we've got the award and things like that, and I mean I can't work in a nightclub for the rest of my life. It's definitely it will definitely wear you down, but so now it's kind of, that was like almost just like a moment there. Now it's like, okay, now I've got this. It's like I can leave happy and know that I've done something and built myself up there, and I can look on to doing something else, and I would like to get back out and doing things on the road again and touring and seeing more, because obviously it's kind of like what you said there, where you were in a completely different situation, but you were in a good situation, and something like that you said that doesn't really happen a lot, where you've got a retainer and things like that. Whereas at the moment now, it's like I'm in a solid job. I've gone from being freelance, and now I'm on a salary. Do you know what I mean? Which again doesn't happen that often. But I kind of want to go back out, and we were talking about this before, about being freelance can be daunting and stuff, but it actually really makes you work, because it's like if you have to eat, and you have to go, and you have to work, you push yourself, and you might have to go into different territories, you know what I mean, into to what you want to do. And I kind of want to go back into that world of being freelance and working in different venues and gaining different experiences and doing different jobs that you wouldn't necessarily want to do. Do you know what I mean? So that's something for the future, definitely, for me to be moving forward onto, I suppose.